Guillemot's involved, plays it back to Gaia. He's going to take his man on. Gaia cuts it across, and there's Murray with the finish. Murray's involved down the right hand side. Is he going to keep running? He plays the ball into Canos, who lays it back to Guillemot, and he finishes it from outside the box. Wolf plays the ball back. It comes to Nex. He's going to run at the defence. In fact, he plays it through to Wolf, who's in the box. One-on-one with the keeper, and he puts it in at the near post. Alvedi turns back. What's he going to do with it? He swings it out wide to Nex, who's in the box. He's in on goal, and he blasts it past the keeper. Throwing on the far side, Burn to Barnes to Gimaresh. He's setting himself up with a sighter, and he curls it past the goalkeeper. Harvey Barnes in the middle of the park. What's he going to do with it? Plays it out wide. Jacob Murphy takes his man on and smashes it home. If you are the type of football manager who loves to attack, and score goals for fun, I might have just the tactic for you. In today's video, I'm going to be showing off another of my own created tactics. This one is called the FM24 Overload 424. As you can see on screen, it's slightly bonkers, but should score lots of goals. I've put it through its paces in testing, and I've got some really good results with it. And in today's video, I'm going to show you the results of tests with Valencia, Borussia Moenchengladbach and Newcastle, plus I'm going to throw in a mystery team right at the end too. So I'm going to break the tactic down, go through it position by position and show you the tabs on screen. If you need to pause the video at any point, feel free to do so. If you want to jump straight in and download the tactic, there will be a link in the description down below for you to have a go. But let's break these positions down and show you what the tactic is about. Starting at the back, we will have a sweeper keeper set to defend. You will have in the back four a wing back on the left, two ball-playing defenders in the centre with another wing-back on the right. You'll then have a ball-winning midfielder and a segundo volante in the middle. On the left, an inside forward. On the right, an inside forward. You'll then have a deep-lying forward and an advanced forward. This tactic comes with a mentality that is balanced. It's in possession will look like this. It's in transition will look like this. It's out of possession will look like this. So that's the tactic. Those are the positions. Don't forget there is a link in the description down below to download this tactic. But let's start off looking at the results, kicking things off with Newcastle. So kicking things off with Newcastle, we find them winning the Premier League. They have won the league by 3 points from Manchester City. In the Champions League, they would not get out of the group stages. They were in a group with Barca, Inter and Marseille, and they would just fall short of qualification. In the Europa League, they would get knocked out in the semi-finals by Bayern Munich. In the FA Cup, they would get knocked out in the 5th round by Tottenham. And in the Carabao Cup, they would get knocked out in the semi-finals by Manchester United. But let's have a look at the Premier League and show you how they have won that. So they played 38 games, they won 27, they drew 8, lost 3, had a goal difference of 46 and finished on 89 points. That put them 3 clear of Manchester City and it put them 14 points clear of Arsenal. Looking at the squad to see how the goals and assists were shared around then, Isaac would get 23 goals and 7 assists, Callum Wilson 21 goals and 5 assists, Harvey Barnes 14 goals and 10 assists, Anthony Gordon further down 10 goals, 14 assists, and even further down here you even have Kieran Trippier getting 11 assists and 2 goals. If we go into the data hub to show you some of the numbers then, in terms of the defending, goals conceded per game 1.03, XG goals against per game 1.35, tackles attempted per game 28.5, tackles won ratio 74.75, interceptions per game 20.13, blocks per game 4, clearances per game 6.55 and fouls made per game 15.7. In the attacking numbers, goals per game 2.24, non-penalty XG goals 1.99, shots per game 12.89, shots on target ratio 47%, dribbles per game 15.8, cross completion 16.5, pass completion was 86.48 and fouls against per game 12.18. So a great start to the tactic test with Newcastle winning the Premier League. Next up, we are off to Spain and we are looking at Valencia, and we find them second in the Liga behind Real Madrid. In the Copa del Rey, we also see that they played against Real Madrid and they would be knocked out in the semi-finals by Real Madrid. If we look at La Liga in a bit more depth to see how they finished in second place, then 38 games played, 26 wins, 8 draws, 4 losses, a goal difference of 50, and they would finish on 86 points, trailing Real Madrid by 8 points, but putting them 6 points clear of Barcelona, who would finish in third place. Looking at the squad for the goals and the assists then, Diego Lopez would get 14 goals with 8 assists, Sergi Canos 10 goals and 5 assists, Fran Perez would get 7 goals and 14 assists, and further down Jose Gaya would get 9 assists and 2 goals. Sadly for them, one player that is missing from this list is Hugo Duro. He had scored 14 goals up until the January transfer window when Arsenal activated his minimum release clause and signed him for £22.5 million. If we look at the data hub to break down some of the figures in there then, so goals conceded per game 0.87, XG goals per game is 1.07, tackles attempted per game 27.79, tackles won ratio 74.34, interceptions per game 21.39, blocks per game 3.26, clearances per game 5.24, fouls made per game 16.08. In the attacking side of the game, goals per game 2.18, non-penalty XG goals was 1.95, shots per game is 13, shots on target ratio was 50%, dribbles per game 16.89, cross completion 19.71, pass completion ratio 86%, and fouls against per game 13.39. So a solid effort from Valencia using the 4-2-4. They would finish runners-up to Real Madrid. Up next, we are looking at Germany, where we find Borussia Moenchengladbach have won the Bundesliga. In the DFB Pokal, they would get knocked out in the third round by St. Pauli. If we look at the Bundesliga in a bit more depth, we can see that they have played in 34 games. They won 24, they drew 7, lost 3, had a goal difference of 46 and finished on 79 points to win the Bundesliga by 2 points from Bayern Munich, and they would finish 8 points clear of Red Bull Leipzig. Go into the squad to see how the goals and assists were broken down. You had Kvankara scoring 22 goals and 7 assists, Plie with 19 goals and 11 assists, Wolf would get 9 goals and 10 assists, Honorat would get 7 goals and 11 assists, and further on down there are a few assists here for Herman and 3 for Alvedi. If we go into the data hub to have a look at how their numbers crunched, in terms of the defending, goals conceded per game 1.09, XG goals per game 1.34, tackles attempted per game 27, tackles won ratio is 74%, interceptions per game 19, blocks per game 4.12, clearances per game 5.59, fouls made per game 14.47. In the attacking, 2.44 goals per game, non-penalty XG was 1.8, shots per game 10.76, shots on target ratio 50%, dribbles per game 15.85, cross completion was 16%, pass completion ratio 86%, fouls against per game 14.62. So another team, another League One. Let's move on to the mystery team. So the mystery team might be a touch controversial. I know that people really don't like it when you test with top teams, but I do like to show off how these tactics are working in the hands of some of the bigger teams. And for this one, I chose Liverpool. And for Liverpool, we can see that they have won the Premier League with 96 points. They have won the Europa League by beating Red Bull Leipzig, and they won the FA Cup too. The anomaly here, the Carabao Cup, where they would get knocked out in the quarter-finals by Tottenham. If we look at the FA Cup, we can see in the final they would beat Newcastle 2-0. In the Europa League, they would beat Red Bull Leipzig in the final 2-1, and they would have goals from Nunez and Szoboszlai. And in the Premier League, they would go on and win the league by 7 points. They would play 38 games, win 31, draw 3, lose 4 times, and they would have a goal difference of 81 with 96 points. As I said, finishing 7 points ahead of Manchester City. If we go into the squad to look at how the goals and assists would play out, so we had Darwin Núñez score 35 goals with 7 assists, Mo Salah 34 goals and 19 assists, Luis Diaz would have 24 goals and 19 assists, Jota 18 goals and 13 assists, Szoboszlai 16 and 14, Harvey Elliott 14 and 18, Gakpo 13 and 10. Further down the list, you will have Trent Alexander-Arnold would get 12 assists, Kostas Tsimikas would get 8 assists, Andy Robertson would get 6 assists. We went to the data hub to see what their data will look like. So, in terms of defending, 0.84 conceded per game, 0.99 XG per game, tackles attempted per game, 27, tackles won, 73.57, interceptions per game, 21.26, blocks per game, 3.16, clearances per game, 4.29, fouls made per game, 15.82. In terms of their attacking, 2.97 goals per game, non-penalty XG 2.5, shots per game 17.34, shots on target ratio is 52%, dribbles per game 18, cross completion 17, pass completion ratio 86.92, and fouls against per game 13.87. So, fantastic test for Liverpool. They really excelled in this tactic, winning the Premier League, the Europa League, the FA Cup. We have also seen 2 other teams win their leagues in Newcastle and Borussia Moenchengladbach. We saw a team put up a really good effort to finish in second place in La Liga. I really do think that this is a fantastic tactic. Don't expect too much in terms of defending. If you're a team that doesn't have solid defenders, you are going to need players that you can sign and that will be able to defend, because when you go out attack, you really will score goals, but you may be leaky at the back. But as you can see from the results of this tactic test, if you can sign strikers or have strikers that will score goals, you will go and win leagues and win games and score goals quite comfortably. Right then, if you're still with me at this point of the video, firstly, a big thank you. Secondly, if you don't mind hitting the like button and subscribing to the channel, I really, really would appreciate it. If you try this tactic, remember the link is in the description down below. Let me know how you get on. If you like it, don't forget to subscribe. If you subscribe to the channel, there will be other tactics. There is already FM24 videos on the channel. We have hints, tips, tutorials, Wonder Kids, Let's Plays, something for everybody on the channel. For this one though, I hope that you have success with this tactic, and I'll see you on another video very soon.